Ankalaev. You want to talk about a guy that's doing everything right, and there is nothing done until it's done. There's a story, guys. I've told you this 5 times, and 5 times you've asked me who I'm talking about. And I don't know. I leave out the name. It's not Scott Hall, and it's not Hillbilly Jim. I thought it was, and I can't recall who it is, but he got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So he gets the phone call. It's on the announcement. They got the arena set up. They got the B-roll. They got his time in the show. They got his family in there. Everything's going to happen. Something happened on his way to the Hall of Fame. The night of, he was in town. He slept in the hotel right across the street. He's got to go down. He's got to cross the street. Something happened. He didn't cross the street. He didn't walk into the building. They did not induct him into the Hall of Fame. Not that night and not to this day. Like, you could do an honorary. I was supposed to go out to a Hall of Fame. Jerry Briscoe helped me with it. My coach died. Ron Finley died. I got to stay. I go to the funeral. And Jerry was very upset with me. He was upset with me. And then he found out what had happened, and he forgave me, but they inducted me into the Hall of Fame. They played a video montage. I'm just sharing with you, like, the idea that nothing is done until it's done. You've got to operate under that. Now, Ankalaev has the good fortune of having the manager in our space. The guy. Ali. And Ali is never going to not operate under the example that I just gave you, which is nothing is done. But, boy, is Ankalaev doing a good job, because, see, he's got competition. And what I admire about Ali and Ankalaev in this situation is that they understand that, while the rest of the world does not. Every 205-pounder has stood back. All of them. Raychik, who is as nasty of a guy as you're going to find. Raychik, because he lost his last fight, does not feel like within him, within his code as a man, he does not feel he has the right to call out Piera. But I'll speak for Raychik because he's got the skills to beat him. Raychik can beat everybody. He is so good. He is so misunderstood. Even his last fight, if you go look at the result, you didn't watch the fight and know about everything that he dealt with going into it, you're going to be misled. But he follows that code. Raychik's not calling anybody out. Raychik would have every right to be speaking up and saying, hey, hold on, not so fast. Before you anoint Ankalaev, it's the winner of my fight against Ankalaev. I will be fighting Pierre, but he can't do it. He can't bring himself to do it because he has a code. And because the last one didn't go his way, are you following me on this? Because every 205-pounder has stood back, including the guy that's going to be in the fight, to determine who advances to Piera. Even Raychik himself is staying back, focused on trying to take care of the competition, and every other 205-pounder has literally, you can go Google, you won't find a name, you won't find a guy joking around. You won't find anything. So why is Ankalaev on top of it? Why is Ankalaev out there tweeting? Why did I get a message from Ankalaev this morning? Why? Because nothing's done. And it's not just a competition right now of 205-pounders. Alex Piera is in a highly unusual situation where the guy that he's called, he said I'll fight Ankalaev. He didn't call Ankalaev out. The guy that he called out is a world champion, not just a top contender. And his name is Dricus du Plessis, at a weight class that Piera, of course, has a claim to. And he's calling out and having people like me, now I'm on Alex Piera, having people like me call for a fight against Tom Aspinall. So all of a sudden, Ankalaev is number 1 contender, right? Like, number 1 contender is all you need. The clear number 1 contender is all you need. It's all you've ever needed. The other boys in the locker room to stand back and know that it's your time to walk through. That is all you need. It's all you've ever needed. Until right now, number 1 contender is the least decorated of the bunch. Tom Aspinall is the second least decorated of the bunch. You got an undisputed champion in Dricus du Plessis. Right, I mean, like any other time where all I've got to do and all the achievements I have, I've got to be ranked 1, recognized as 1, get everybody else to sit down and shut up. If that has ever happened, you're fighting for the title. But it's not like that now. Ankalaev is still going to have to look good and perform in a certain way. So the fact that he's going for it, the fact that he's going out, the fact that I did hear from him today, amongst other people, I really like that. I really appreciated that. I appreciate that understanding. I appreciate that respect shown to the sport. I argue for you that Merab, in the passenger seat of the O'Malley Seville, did a really great job. Most guys would just get there, and then they would do nothing. They did this to Demetrius Johnson for so long they thought about cutting the division. It wasn't Demetrius' fault. It's the passenger. I'll bring the belt. You bring the promotion. You bring the interest. You bring the entertainment. I've done my part. Like, this rig doesn't move down the road without me. I'm the champion. Who's going to be in the passenger seat is the only thing in question. I'm just bringing that to you like Ankalaev's doing a really good job. And he is making that really interesting. And by the way, when I heard from Ankalaev, this was public. This wasn't a private message, but I had made a comment that Ankalaev is not a wrestler. That you guys keep doing that to him. You keep saying that he's a wrestler. He's very good at wrestling. He's not a wrestler. If you asked him, what are you representing? What is it you're most proud of? He is a kickboxer, just like Khabib with Sambo or Fedor with Sambo. For example, like, they get to choose and come forward and say what it is that they represent. And the world has come out to say that Ankalaev represents wrestling and he's just going to try to take him down. And what a boring fight that's going to be. No, he's not. He's going to go and trade with him and thinks that he can beat him. Which is interesting. And you guys would like to see if you can fix the story, the narrative. And that was just when Ankalaev gave me a response today, this is what he was responding to. I thought that you guys would want to know that. But either way, much like Merab held up his end of the bargain when he walked in Sphere, just in case that belt's going to change hands, and now he's in a position where he can also entertain you guys to a degree, like the driver of the car, in that case O'Malley did. I just think that Ankalaev is doing an interesting job here. And that whole crew, starting with Khabib, Ali's guilty of it too, though. Ali himself is guilty of it. Islam, okay? These guys are secretly very charming, and they're secretly very funny. They just don't, it doesn't come out. For the same reason that Raychick won't let it out right now and he wants to so bad. And he believes he's going to beat Ankalaev, and he believes he's going to be the guy, but he can't bring himself to say anything because he's got this code. I found Ankalaev to be rather enjoyable myself. So let's see where that goes. But nothing's done till it's done, and you can't act like that. You can't have that attitude. I got a story. I'll leave names out of it. I got a story. You guys see him every week. You guys see him often, most weeks. He's part of the television crew. That's a very sought-after position. I think we could imagine why, right? It's very difficult to participate in this sport if you're not in there doing the sport. Can we agree? See, one of these sought-after positions. And you might wonder sometimes, hey, how did he get that? Like, just curious, like, what is the process? If I wanted to try to do it, do I submit a resume? What do I do? Do I turn in a tape? Do I have to know somebody? You might wonder these things. There's somebody that you see on a regular basis that wasn't the guy that was supposed to be there. They brought him in while they interviewed the guy that was supposed to be there. But the guy that was supposed to be there had such an attitude that I'm the guy that's supposed to be here, that they showed him the door, brought the other guy in. I mean, I'm just sharing with you, like, there is something to be said for an attitude. There's something to be said for having the right attitude. And the number one thing in the UFC, all right, the number one thing Dana White's looking for is interesting. If you pitch him an idea and he says that word back to you, it means you did good. Interesting. Not money, not legacy, not action, not fun. Interesting. That's the word. And when you're in a situation like this, the number one thing that you can do to get interesting, to get Dana's interest, is to show a hunger. If you can show and convince him that you want it, and you want it more than everybody else, that will move you in front of, have I done more than everybody else? Your resume versus their resume is generally what people have to go off of. But if you can convince him that you want it more than he does, and I feel that Ankalaev, to a degree, and I make this whole thing to encourage him to keep doing it, but to a degree, he is really showing that not only does he have the resume, he also has the hunger. And if those two things come together, he will have a bout agreement and he will have his title fight.